Hey friends, buckle up for a new episode of the Seller's Journey podcast with Uvaro CEO Joseph Fung.
Our next guest, Ezra Sohn, took a leap of faith when he changed careers from being a pastor to launching a career in tech sales. Learned what it was like to be sales rep number one at a high-growth startup, and learned some tips of what it takes to succeed along the way. Hope you enjoy it. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm super excited to have the inestimable Ezra Sohn here. Ezra, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Excited to just get a chance to catch up with you again.
This is going to be a fun conversation. To help our audience, I'd love to cover just a couple of quick basics to kind of get people oriented. First off, where in the world are you joining us from right now?
I am in Houston, Texas. I moved out here about 3 months ago from New York City, and it's been great. It's 70 degrees in January. I'm swimming in the pool outside in January and February, so it's been a nice change of pace.
I'm so jealous. The snow is just melting here, and I would love that kind of weather. I may have to come crash.
Oh, but you're welcome.
And your role, you're at a really cool company. Can you tell us a little bit about HyperComply and what the company does?
So cyber risk is just growing as a concern. And if you've been following the news lately, internationally, or if you're just familiar with how software is sold between businesses, then it might not surprise you. But last year, cyber insurance premiums topped off at $5.5 billion. And so, in this climate, software vendors they really have to demonstrate that their offering is secure and compliant. And one of the ways they do it is by filling out these security questionnaires. It seems super outdated, but it's taking vendors a week to 4 weeks to fill it out. And HyperComply, what we do is we provide machine learning automation, a collaboration platform, and a human layer of QA so that they can fill it out in one day.
So we've hit pretty much all the hot buttons on that. We've talked about, software, processes, automation, cybersecurity. Now, I'm sure folks are listening in. They're like, okay, there's going to be like another tech, security podcast. But no, let's pivot it because you have one of the most inspirational and human stories that I've ever encountered. Could you tee us up in your own words? How would you describe your career journey?
Yeah. So when I was growing up, a lot of teenage angst, got kicked out of school, and I mean, this is not this is not like a highly technical podcast. It's also not a religious one, but just to kind of share my own journey.
Mhm.
I had this experience where I went from not believing in God to believing, and it was just this radical worldview shift for me, and to the point where from the time I was 19, I started working for the church. So I was an employee of the church, and that's pretty much where I've been for 20 years. And during that time, I always wanted to grow as a leader. I wanted this experience. I wanted to serve at this type of church. I wanted to start, this kind of an organization. And after 20 years, I realized that there was no next dream. There was nothing that excited me anymore. And it's really hard to serve, in my experience, in a volunteer organization when the passion isn't there. And so for me, I just started looking for work. Honestly, any kind of work.
So thinking about getting to that point, I mean, that sounds like such a remarkable journey from, you're finding your faith, actually working for the church. What did you find in yourself that kept you motivated for that journey? I mean, 20 years is a long time to invest in a career in a work environment. What was it that you were getting out of that process?
Yeah. So there were always leaders that I saw in front of me, and they were inspirational, just in terms of how much they were able to help other people. And I wanted to be like that. And then on the other hand, as I got into my late 20s and 30s, I saw different needs that just jumped out at me. It made me want to, uh, give everything, to make certain things better, that I thought were not good. And I think those are the things that inspired me for 20 years.
And when you made that decision to start looking for new opportunities, um, given that fact you've worked within the same organization for such a long period of time, what was your job search like? What were you hunting for? What were you looking for? What did it feel like to
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. So It felt bad.
Mm.
I felt very insecure. One thing I kept thinking was, I've been working in a church for, until I was 40.
Mm.
So, like, what good could I possibly be at anything else? And so I had a lot of doubts. In terms of like the mechanical aspects of the search, it was literally a Google search, like entry level careers, or I really had no idea. And I did end up looking into tech because people were going into coding boot camps and they were
Mhm.
trying to find jobs there. So that did kind of get me excited about where tech was going as a sector.
So you're excited about tech. You were introduced to Uvaro. Is there anything specific that kind of pushed you over that line to kind of take that chance? Is there anything you kind of put your finger on?
Yeah, so part of it was when I first started looking into boot camps.
Mm.
I was reading that boot camps were getting oversaturated. Employees weren't happy with the quarters coming out, and I just felt like I probably wasn't going to make it because I couldn't see myself just staring at lines for 12 to 15 hours. I took some online courses. I just didn't think I could do it, and then I ended up coming across tech sales, but the company itself to me seemed really shady, and it almost turned me off to it, and it made me think, oh,
Mm.
tech sales, it can't be this good. And so I really didn't believe in it. And then there was a timely ad that I saw from Uvaro, and I just gave it one last chance. Basically, here's another company doing the same thing. Maybe there's something to this space. And I spoke with Sarah, one of
Mhm.
your recruiters, and that 15-minute conversation, that was really authentic to me, and it made me feel like, okay, this is good people. She took all my objections honestly, and then she introduced me to other people on your team, and we're just getting to know people on Uvaro that made me feel like, yeah, I do want to explore this. But to be honest, I was also thinking that if this didn't go well in the first 3 to 4 weeks, that I was just going to um, cancel and ask for my money back.
Mm.
I wasn't sure. It was so new to me. But yeah, that's what I guess that's what it looked like.
So for you, while you're in that situation, you say, "Hey, I'm going to take the chance, but if it's not working out, maybe I'll change my mind." What were the things you were looking for? The things that either would have been green flags or red flags. What were you hoping to see, or I guess not see?
For me, there's a lot of desperation
Mm.
to make income. And one thing that I was looking for was just, can I do this? Can I be okay at this? And will this pay my bills? So pretty low bar. I'm not thinking, am I going to love this? Right? Is this going to resonate with who I am, who I've been for the last 20 years in a working environment? And the first couple of weeks when I was at Uvaro, one of the instructors, Sheila, she really focused on how you have to have empathy to be good at sales. And and then I was sold. Like, then I knew this is something that I really wanted to do. I could get behind it, as a framework, as a mindset, and that got me excited.
The mindset's so much of it. And when I think about your journey, and part of what sticks out so much to me is in your role as a pastor, you were part of people's support network. And when we talk about everyone should have a really good support system, that was you. So when you were going through this change, I'd love to hear who did you look to? Who was your support system?
Wow, that's a great question, because for 20 years my support system was in this one industry, and now all of a sudden, a lot of the networks, friends and colleagues, folks who are mentoring me and helping me get to where I wanted to go. Um, Now, as I'm embarking on something totally different, they're there for me as friends. But now I felt like I was on this new journey of trying to figure out a different way, um, to do a 9 to 5, to support my family. So there was definitely a shock factor there. Yeah.
So if you think about talking to either your past self or to somebody that's at that same state, they said, "Hey, I'm going to jump in with both feet. I'm going to take that chance and try to figure out, do I like this? Is this going to work?" what's one piece of advice you might give to someone in that role now?
So going back to the community piece, I gravitated strongly to my fellow students because they were in a similar journey as me. We're all in the same place. We're looking, to better our career, and I was clinging onto, the Uvaro community, and that's what really encouraged me, because that's where I felt, that's where I found courage. That's where people were telling me that I could do this, and so if I could go back, yeah, I would just say dive in and give it a go.
You've mentioned things like empathy, the kind of relating to your peers and leaning on them. There's a lot of thoughts in there that feel really similar, and it strikes me that you've got a lot of lessons from your work as a pastor in your work now in tech or in sales. Uh, is there anything that jumps out to you as specific skills or lessons you picked up then that you're applying now?
One of the things that stood out to me immediately was just how much similarity there was, even organizationally. And we might describe it differently. But for example, I'm in sales. Some people in like on LinkedIn, you'll see them describe themselves as evangelists.
Mhm.
And in the church, there's something similar too, right? We go out and we just talk about how great our product is, right? And then there's pastors who are supposed to really care for the people, nurture them, shepherd them, and we have CS teams, right, on the tech sales on the business side. And so I just saw a lot of different similarities there, and yeah, I mean that's something that I feel comfortable doing. So before, I was talking to people about God, and that's a hard sell. I mean, when I was growing up, I grew up in a world where our presidents are amazing, full of integrity, do the right thing, God exists. There was a certain worldview where, to share it, there's really no argument or pushback. But today, like that's a really tough sell. And when I think about being an outbound rep, uh, the amount of failure that I face is massive because if I send out hundreds of emails, my reply rate and a positive reply can be like 1% or 2%. And so, just fighting to craft a message, having the courage and the conviction, to believe that even though a lot of people aren't going to be interested, it's actually helpful. I think in terms of like thick skin, just getting on the calls over and over again, to me, that wasn't that difficult. So yeah, I just think there are a lot of different mindset or skill sets that carried over.
Fantastic examples, I think, of what carries over, and that comment about it being a hard sell, I'm sure, is resonating with a lot of folks who listen in and they think about their current selling activities. It's
Yeah,
hard work sometimes.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean our failure rate is massively high. Like, if you think about maybe 99% of the time that you're putting in to outbound, it's going to go completely radio silent. You're not going to hear anything from them. And to still believe in the process enough and to still want to persevere, yeah, I feel like that requires some type of internal fortitude.
Thinking about that fortitude, the challenges that you overcome, every day. Uh, like looking for that kind of like moment of honesty and candor. Is there anything that Uvaro could have done? Anything we could have done to have better prepared you for that work?
I've been doing outbound for like a year and a half now,
Hmm.
and I'm finally enjoying the game. And so if I think about the 3 months that you've already provided, it gave me an introduction. It encouraged me to play on. My cousin once took me to a 3-par golf course,
Hmm.
and prior to that, I had only gone to the range, and so I was terrible. And I don't know if you play golf, but these 3-par courses are pretty small, and so the owner was actually yelling at me and telling me to get out because I was taking too long because I couldn't play. And my cousin was like, "No, no, this is a 3-part. Everybody sucks here. Okay, just play." And even though I wanted to enjoy golf, like I couldn't because I was so insecure about myself. I felt like I was holding people back. The owner's yelling at me, and then my cousin's like, "Enjoy the game," right? But I can't. And it's only more recently where yeah, I'm not thinking about myself. Like I love the strategy of sales. I love talking to people. I feel like there are like I'm never gonna hit the same situation over and over again, right? So like just in terms of like game theory or just the social elements of it, like because it's always changing. Like there's a thrill and an excitement for me now, as I'm reaching out to people, and it just reminds me of the difference between tagging along with my cousin to play golf, and then what he's probably experiencing. He's actually enjoying playing golf. And so I feel like Uvaro was the one that invited me to the game. Hey, check out tech sales. This is what it's going to be like. Here's the background. And I feel like that helped move me forward. And also, because this was the first time that I've been in a work environment outside of the church, like I really didn't know how to pick the right company. And I actually started working at a tech startup, and so the thought of trying to pick which one was actually going to make it, there's no way I could have figured that out. And so I think just some of the hand holding up front, that helped me out a lot. And yeah, I think in terms of the candor and honesty, I, I think it's just going to be really hard to figure that out in the first 3 months. So just from my own experience, I'm constantly trying to learn from other sales reps and other leaders, like what I should be saying. And in the beginning, I'm often just copying them. And then the moment of candor or honesty comes in when I get so comfortable with these methods that have been working that I can make it my own. And so I can riff on it. I can try to make it funny, or at least I think it's funny, right? Or I can switch this up, and I feel like that's where it becomes like honest. That's Ezra, the sales rep now. But I feel like to get there, I just think it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of reps. Yeah.
I love the analogy. I fully confess I stick to the par three courses. I don't think I've been yelled at yet, but I can definitely empathize with that. Have you uh, thinking about that process and all that activity now? You said you're kind of finally enjoying the game. Is there anything that sticks out to you as a particular highlight or an element you particularly enjoy it now? What's the high mark for you?
Being in a startup, there are all these different stages. And more recently, I had an opportunity to make a lot more cold calls. And last week, I booked my first meeting over the phone. And later that day, I booked another one. Right. And so being able to now reach out through a medium that I hadn't really used before, it's just super exciting. And I just feel like I'm adding layers to my game. And so, I was still able to, book meetings through emails and LinkedIn. And now I just get to elevate my game in another area. Also with messaging, so what I think it is for me is, once I reach the level of, okay, like I'm hitting quota and like I'm going to survive. I think from that point, I can just really work on the game. Like now I can really try to fine tune, be super creative, and not be as worried, not be in survival mode as much. And so that's something I've really been enjoying lately. Yeah.
So I love the fact that you're hitting the phone and you talk about how much you enjoy it, and I'm gonna come back to that one because I want to double click on that a bit. But you talked a little bit about overcoming the challenges, or maybe some of the days of uncertainty, and you're kind of copying language, and maybe you're a little bit lost in the process. If you're talking to somebody else that's in that same boat, they've landed that role and they're feeling just a little bit lost. What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've lived that out for many months, and being in a startup, I'm going to continue to go through phases like that because our company is growing so quickly, and who I'm reaching out to is different. So there's going to be constantly a need to change things up. Okay, so I just focus on three things. The first is volume. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, and then the second part is growth. And so I'm going to constantly be reading from sales leaders. Well, how are they doing their cold calling? How are they writing their emails? And then after that is creativity. So, for me, just focusing on those three things. And, a lot of times it's easy to disengage when things aren't working, right? The massive rate of failure that I was talking about. And it's easy for volume to slip. And I think that's something that just has to stay consistent. And the second part, growth is obvious. And then, I think the creativity part is where you've put in enough reps where you just make it your own. And then just trust in that process. And believe, and you just have to trust yourself. Yeah.
I love that. You just got to trust yourself. That's a solid mantra. Need to get that on my desk somewhere to remind myself of that.
Yeah, I guess those are just the areas where I know that I can be good. Like, can I put in the volume? Yeah, I can put in the volume, right? Can I read 3 or 4 LinkedIn messages and watch a 30-minute sales webinar? Yeah, I could do that. I can grow. And the creativity part for me just comes naturally. The more I copy someone else doing things, it just, at some point, it eventually comes. What they're doing, it goes from being uncomfortable to becoming, just like second nature to me. And then at some point, I think, I want to try something else. I want to try this. Like, I want to spice things up a little bit. So I feel like those 3 things are just very doable for me. Versus if I just think I booked 1 meeting last week, I got to book 4 next, the next 2 weeks. Setting goals like that to me, I feel like just leads to more paralysis and doubt.
I love how you're talking about growth and advancement and personal challenging. So, let's dig into that a bit. I know I said we wouldn't keep you too long, so I'll save this as the last meaty question then. What's next for you? Where do you want to grow? Where would you want to develop? What's next for Ezra?
Yeah, well, so right now, I really want to just experience the entire sales cycle, from outbound to closing a deal. And so right now I am, taking on different growth projects, and I'm training and learning how to be an account executive. And there are a lot of folks on my team who are helping me to do that. And I think that's, in a nutshell, what's next for me.
Cool. So a couple minutes ago, I said I was going to come back to the cold calling thing, and it would be a terrible sales podcast if I didn't give you the opportunity to pitch. So you're doing outbound right now. For those who are listening in and they're deciding, hey, should I call or email Ezra? What's your pitch to them? Why should someone call you to get help from HyperComply?
Oh, if there's somebody, if you're a vendor and security questionnaires, vendor due diligence questionnaires, it's introducing dead time, friction, like 7 days to 14 days. You could just cut that down to 1. HyperComply allows you to sell a lot faster.
Damn. That's awesome. Ezra, you nailed it. This is great.
Well, our solution is pretty straightforward. It's going back to where we started. I'm not a super techie, geeky person. It's pretty straightforward what I'm selling. So fits me for where I am right now.
This was perfect. Ezra, thank you so much for sharing so much about your journey, what you're experiencing. You've been an inspiration for so many, and sharing some of the details is super appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I can't wait to chat soon, and we'll get back again. But in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you enjoy the Texas weather, better than the weather we have here, and we'll chat again soon.
Sounds good.
Okay, ciao.
That's it for this episode of the Seller's Journey podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe for more episodes, connect with us on LinkedIn, and join the movement towards finding career success today.